Hello, everybody. Welcome to the fifth edition of Talk Death. Who owns your body? Funeral Law and Rights, the American edition this time. And today we are with Tanya Marsh and Lee Webster. Hello, Tanya. Hello, Lee.
So our next question is by Ann_Reza on Instagram. And she wants to own a family cemetery on her own property. Is this something that she can establish before anyone has yet to die? Or does it only get established after someone has died and has been buried? Or is it even allowed? Yeah, Tanya, if you want to take this.
Sure. Okay, so the word cemetery is a word that's defined by state statute. So there's no federal law that says, in the United States, we're talking about the United States, there's no federal law that says what a cemetery is. We sort of have a you know it when you see it, right? But really, when we look at a cemetery, or when we look at a collection of graves, we tend to say, oh, that's a cemetery, right? But legally, it may or may not be a cemetery. So in most states, the Cemetery Act that governs them was really created to deal with large for-profit or municipal cemeteries, etc. In most states, family cemeteries, that is, you're not selling grave spaces and they're restricted to members of your own family. And in most states, religious cemeteries also are excluded from the legal definition of a cemetery for purposes of these cemetery acts. So the first place you have to look in your particular state to see whether or not you can do a family cemetery is to see what the definition of cemetery is and whether or not it would apply to family burial grounds, etc. The second place you have to look is zoning law, local zoning law. Before I got interested in this area of the law, I'm a property and real estate attorney, so this is hardcore real estate law. Zoning law is all local, and in some states, every square inch of the state is zoned, and then the government says you can do this activity in this part of the county or whatever, or you can't do these other activities. And in some states, it's really only the cities that are zoned, and then the country is not. So you have to sort of look at two different legal threshold tests, right? One is, does the state want to govern my family cemetery? That's the first thing you have to look at. And the second is, based on where I live and where the land is located, what restrictions, if any, is the local government going to put on my ability to put human bodies into the ground here? What are they going to require me to do? Do I have to tell the local government, etc.?
Lee, have you had any experience with families requesting this?
I've had quite a bit of experience with home burials, yes. And in more than just, I'm in New Hampshire and familiar with Maine and Vermont to either side of me. And we all have pretty lax zoning here for the most part. In the state of New Hampshire, there's one township that doesn't allow home burial. The rest of the state is good to go. And yeah, it happens quite frequently. And it happens for interesting reasons as well, if we can take a minute for that. The reason that people are looking to put bodies on their own property has less to do with money, I think, than it has to do with the environmental ramifications of the way that we're doing burial these days, which is in a steel box, steel from China or mahogany from rainforest woods or whatever, stuck inside a concrete box so that they can keep the lawn mowed nicely above ground. Right. And all of those things are leaching things out into the soil. The bodies aren't the problem. We know that from four major, health organizations, the World Health Organization and so on. So I think a lot of people are doing this for environmental reasons, which could be misguided, honestly. We're trying to develop green burial cemeteries at different levels, particularly conservation levels, so that we have a central place. And I think Tanya can speak to this, the reason why cemeteries are important culturally and spiritually for us. But one of the issues is, people do want to bury close to their home, recognizing that they may leave their home. They need to be concerned about that. I always ask people, is this desire of yours to bury on your own property about money, or are you concerned about furthering conservation goals? If you are, we need to keep talking.
Right. And Tanya, maybe this is for you on the real estate side. what happens if you sell your property and there's some bodies buried there?
Well, yeah. So first you have to look to state law to see if there's anything specific. But in general, once a body's in the ground, you have an implied easement at common law for the remains to stay there. So every state criminalizes disinterment without consent of particular people. And typically a state statute will say you cannot dig somebody up without the consent of next of kin, the owner of the real estate, and then if it was somebody who bought a family plot in a larger cemetery, you need their consent too, et cetera, right? So the states are different. So yeah, if you buy land that has a body there, you're going to pretty much need to keep the body there absent a court order because there are criminal statutes that would prevent you from interfering either with the body itself or with a tombstone, etc.
I imagine that you would need to, if you were selling your property and for whatever reason you didn't want to bring the bodies with you, you would probably need to disclose that as well.
It has to be disclosed in the deed. You have to, at least here, it has to be included in the deed. And again, I always ask people, how valuable is your property going to be at that point? Did you bury Marilyn Monroe or Sid Vicious? What are people going to want?
Well, it should be disclosed in a deed, but even if you don't disclose it in a deed, you can't just go remove the bodies. So there's what you should do and what you can do, right? Which are
super interesting.
But also, I'd just say that in a lot of parts of the country, family burial grounds are a really important cultural heritage monument. My family is from Nebraska, and there are little corners of farms throughout the state where the members of the immediate family were buried, on a little hilltop, etc. So there's people still using those little family cemeteries.